All right, my friends. So let's go ahead and start with our lesson. So yesterday you took a look at Opus and you did a gallery walk, and I hope you enjoyed all those poems. Today you watched Khan's Academy Introduction to Poetry, and we're going to add a little more to that because we are going to have a scavenger hunt either on Thursday or Friday. So let's go into this and talk about elements of poetry structure. All right, so there are the following in poetry, like we said in the previous slide: a poet, a speaker, lines, line break, stanza, rhyme, shape, punctuation, and capitalization. So let's go ahead and look at this poem by Shel Silverstein. And if you haven't heard of him before, I would highly recommend him. He is a great, great poet. So let's go ahead and read Invitation. Invitation. If you are a dreamer, come in. If you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. If you're a pretender, come sit by the fire, for we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. All right, so our poet, or the one who wrote this poem, is Shel Silverstein. Our speaker, so let's look at this line. If you're a pretender, come sit by the fire, for we have some flax golden tales to spin. So tales are stories. So it's saying that we have some tales or stories to share, to spin, to share with the group that's by the fire. So clearly this speaker is somebody who likes to tell stories. All right, so let's look at the lines. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 lines. The title of the poem does not count. So it's just the poem. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 lines. Our next one says stanza. So a stanza is a group of lines within a poem. So kind of pretend like you're reading a book. And in a book, you have paragraphs. So in a poem, it's kind of the same, but they're called stanzas. And in a book, they have to be in complete sentences, but in a poem, they do not. So we only have one stanza. Notice that on every single line, it starts with a capital. So our first line, if you are a dreamer, come in, it is a complete sentence. But our second line, if you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, it is not a complete sentence, but yet it still starts with a capital. All right, so let's look at line breaks. So look at line 2. It says, if you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, it has a comma. Then notice on line 5, for we have some flax golden tales to spin, there's a period. The reason why the author or the poet put the period is because it needs a longer break. It's a complete thought. So if you're a pretender, come sit by the fire, for we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. So notice how I took a longer pause there. All right, so notice on line 3, so 1, 2, 3, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. There's 3 dots right there. So that's called an ellipsis. It lets us know he's trailing. So his thoughts are trailing and it's not a complete thought. So if you're a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. So I'm seeing that he's probably wondering, who else would I want to invite to the story time? So that is your ellipsis. Those 3 dots are called ellipsis. So the thought is still continuing. He's not finished with his thought. You also notice on line 3 that there are hyphens. So these lines right here, there's 2 hyphens. So instead of just saying hoper, he wants us to say hoper with enthusiasm. Instead of just a prayer, it would say a prayer, prayer. So there's enthusiasm. It's longer. So our rhyme scheme we're going to talk a little bit more about tomorrow, but we're just going to kind of summarize it a little bit. So our rhyme scheme is A, B, 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 A. So notice in, spin, in. All of those sound the same or rhyme, which is why they are labeled A. Then on our second, third, and fourth line, it says liar, buyer, and fire. So those all rhyme or sound the same, which is why our second line is B, third line is B, and fourth line is B. Like I said, we will get more into that tomorrow. Go ahead and review all of this. When you feel like you are ready, then you can go ahead and take your test. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.